बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for joining our Wednesday evening Bhagavad Gita class online. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley Zoom uh, Wednesday Bhagavad Gita class. So we'll start with a little bit. I will share the screen. I just, Prabhu, I am not able to share my screen. Is it possible to enable? So I was thinking to share something about Radha Madhav prayers. Srila Prabhupada recited these prayers in February of 1971 in Gorakhpur. That's the first time he started reciting these prayers. After that, it became a norm to sing these prayers before we start any class on Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Thank you, Prabhu. Uh, okay, so let me start. Yeah, we can start with Mangalacharan prayers first, Prabhu. Then we can go to Radhama. So let's do the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So, first of all, I offer my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Because of him, we have such beautiful purports to Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and understanding of spiritual knowledge. and I offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. Because of his mercy, I can speak something on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, following in the Guru Parampara. And I offer my obeisances to all the present Vaishnavas, because you are dear to Lord Krishna. I offer my obeisances at your lotus feet. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Let me start with sharing my screen. We are going to discuss about Purushottam Yoga, because this month is Purushottam month. It comes after around 3 years. So I was thinking, because we have only few days left in Purushottam month to discuss about yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottam Yoga from Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, I just want to discuss about a little bit about Radha Madhav prayers and Mangalacharan, and then I will discuss about detachment from material world, which is the first 5 verses from Purushottam Yoga, chapter 15. If we have sufficient time, then we'll read attachment to spiritual world, maybe from the Veda base, um, for the remaining 15 verses. And yeah, then we'll conclude the session for any question and answers. So about Radha Madhav prayers, how they came up. It's a very beautiful pastime. In 1971, when Srila Prabhupada was located in Gorakhpur, there was a small temple, there were deities. So we can read little bit about that pastime. Um, yeah, so yeah, here it is. Would anyone like to read from? Yeah, and would so anybody, if you would like to volunteer?
Prabhu, we can't see it.
Oh, sorry, I am sharing. Let me again share screen. Are you able to see now?
Yes.
Okay. Who is willing to read? So from here we can read.
So Hare Krishna Kautukarnava Prabhu, this is Ashram Madhav Das.
Hare Krishna Ashram Madhav.
Yes, Prabhu, I can read. Tell me from where I have to read.
Yeah, from here, Prabhu. Jaya Radha Madhav.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Krishna is enjoying in Vrindavan. That is the real picture of God, simply enjoying. The Vrindavan Lila of Krishna is the perfect representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is simply enjoying. All the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis, the cowherd boys, Maharaj Nanda, Yashoda, everyone is simply anxious how to make Krishna happy. They have no other business. The residents of Vrindavan have no other business than to satisfy Krishna, and Krishna has no other business. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari is acting as the little son of Yashoda, and his only business is how to please the residents of Vrindavan. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari. He is wandering in the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of the Yamuna. This is the actual picture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Brahma, Indra, big demigods, they are also bewildered. They are sometimes mistaken. How this coward boy can be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Just like some of us think like that. But those who are thinking like that, for them also there is manifestation of Krishna's supremacy. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Although he is engaged in pleasing the residents of Raja, when there is a need, he can lift up the Govardhan hill at the age of 7 years. Or he can kill the Putana at the age of 3 months.
Okay, we can stop here, Prabhu. Thank you for reading.
Yeah.
Uh, so this is how Srila Prabhupada explained the meaning of this song. And at one day when Prabhupada was singing this song before Bhagavatam class, he actually went into ecstasy. He could not speak. He was just shaking his head, and then tears were flowing from his eyes. And then he just said, "Chant Hare Krishna." He did not give the class. After that incident, the deities in Gorakhpur were known as Radha Madhav. So I thought it will be uh, nice to share some pastime about Srila Prabhupada before we read about Purushottam Yoga. This is a little history. Um, so back to um, are you able to see the screen now?
Not yet, Prabhu.
Okay. Share.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so this was about Radha Madhav, and if we go next, this is Mangala Charan. I just picked up two verses from the beginning of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit. So there, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, before beginning the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he writes these two verses about Mangala Charan. Maybe I will just read them quickly. ग्रंथेर आरंभे करी मंगलाचरण Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smaran. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. So that is why we do the Mangalacharan prayers before we read any scriptures. से मंगलाचरण है त्रिविध प्रकार वस्तु निर्देश आशीर्वाद नमस्कार. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So these are the three processes of invocation. We have already offered our obeisances in the prayers. We can define the objective and the benedictions from Purushottam Yoga. So I just have one slide on that. So Mangalacharan, the objective of chapter 15 is detachment from the material world. Uh, that is the first five verses, from verses 1 to 5, and then attachment to the spiritual world from text 6 to text 20. The benedictions are also given in the last verse of this chapter. It yeah, it's a very beautiful verse. It says, Krishna says that I am disclosing here the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. Anyone who knows this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So these are the benedictions of understanding Purushottam Yoga. Now we can continue. So I want to uh, swap between Veda base and the slides. Maybe is that okay, Girish Prabhu?
Sure, Prabhuji, that should not be a problem.
Okay. So do I need to stop share and then go to Veda base? How does that work?
Prabhuji, actually, when you click share, it should give you two different options. One of them is that you can specifically share one tab or window, or the other one is you can share your entire screen. If you select you can share your entire screen, then it doesn't matter. If you change windows, we'll be able to see. But
Got
otherwise,
it.
we will not be able to.
Okay, I think I'm sharing desktop one, so that will be the whole screen, right?
Yes, Prabhuji, that should be
Okay.
everything.
Okay. So let's go to the first verse. You are able to see screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So anybody would like to volunteer for the translation text 1?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yeah, please go ahead. Thank you.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas."
You can read the purport also. It's
Okay. After the discussion of the importance of Bhakti Yoga, one may question, what about the Vedas? It is explained in this chapter that the purpose of Vedic study is to understand Krishna. Therefore, one who is in Krishna consciousness, who is engaged in devotional service, already knows the Vedas. The entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end, and for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of the tree. This tree's roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it.
okay.
This process, sorry.
I can stop here. Thank you. So let's go back to the slides. Okay. So let's try to relate what we read in text 1. The Prabhupada, so Krishna is saying that.
Actually, we cannot see your slides. I'm not sure why. Maybe
Okay, Prabhu, let me just.
maybe you can end this share and then start the share again. I'm not sure why.
How is it now?
It's good.
Okay. Yeah, I will swap from new share every time. Maybe that works. So you can see the screen now, the slides.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So what we read now in the verse was that this material world is like an inverted banyan tree, which has its roots going down and branches are going up. Anyone who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport that the purpose of Vedas is to know Krishna. So anyone who knows Krishna is automatically knowing the purpose of the Vedas. So we can see here that the root of the tree is Lord Brahma on the left side, and from him comes the various universes, which we can. Uh, uh, I'm sorry, only one universe, but many planetary systems are created. So that the branches of this tree are going down, and they correspond to the different planetary systems. So we have a picture on the right, which is comparing the 14 planetary systems to the branches of this tree. The lower we go, we find lower species of life, which are more in the mode of ignorance. Animals, beasts, reptiles, and the higher planetary systems are inhabited by demigods, by yogis, and ultimately by Lord Brahma. It is said that this tree is imperishable because even after annihilation, the material universe manifests again. So, uh, this tree is imperishable. It is always there as long as the living entity wants to enjoy in the material world. So, anyone who wants to elevate himself to the spiritual world, he needs to understand that I am in this tree and I need to get out of here. Only then I can approach the spiritual world. So that is the purpose of the Vedas. We can see here on the left that the leaves are the Vedic hymns. there are people who are called Vedavad Ratas, Prabhupada says, who like to read Vedas just for the sake of knowledge, not for the sake of getting out of the material world. So those people do not understand the purpose of the Vedas. They use the Vedas in order to enjoy the fruits of this tree. So, what are the different fruits of this tree? We can see here. Those are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma means religiosity, artha means economic development, kama means sense gratification, fulfilling our sense desires according to the senses that we have. And moksha is liberation. Liberation would mean going to the top of this tree, but you are still in the material world. You can still fall down. You are still not in the spiritual world. So these are the 4 fruits of this tree. We can also see that this tree has roots going down, which are marked by pious acts and impious acts. So a living entity in the material world either commits pious acts or impious acts. So that is called karma and vikarma. If you do pious activities, you get elevated to the higher planets, demigods. And once your credits are over, pious credits are over, you again come down to earthly planet. And if you commit impious acts, you go down into the lower planetary systems. So in that way, this tree is very, very complex, very, very complex to understand. The living entity acquires different kind of senses in the form of different species to enjoy the sense objects of this tree. For example, Prabhupada gives this analogy that a hog does not like halwa because his senses cannot appreciate halwa. Human beings can appreciate halwa. A hog would appreciate stool, but human beings don't appreciate stool. So according to the different senses that a living entity has, the living entity enjoys different sense objects. So on the whole, this material world or this tree is very, very complex. We do not know where it begins, where it ends, where is its foundation. So let's read more. We'll go to the next verse. Let's read more. Share it. Okay. I want to share something more. Prabhupada says that, let me show again. So the desire is the cause of this material world. If we see, the desire is the cause of this material world. Because we want to separately enjoy from Krishna, that is my material desire. Hence, there is a reflection of the actual banyan tree, which is the spiritual world. So, has anyone seen an inverted banyan tree in the real world, in the real life? Anyone? Where the roots are upward and the branches are downwards.
The only place I can think of is in water. There is no other place we have seen.
Thank you, Shyam. That is correct. So similarly, Prabhupada gives this example in the purport that only in a lake, when we see a tree next to the lake, we see the reflection of the actual tree, which has its roots upward and branches down. So there is a medium which is water, because of which we see the reflection of the original tree. So what is that medium here? That is the desire. That is the desire for the living entity to enjoy separately from Krishna. So we see everything that is there in the spiritual world in its reflection form in material world. Prabhupada says, so that is the reason we cannot enjoy this world, because it is a reflection. It is not the original tree. But that does not mean that there is no original tree. There is an original tree. So if we align our desires with Krishna's desire, we can go to the spiritual world, and there we can taste actual happiness, the real happiness, which is satisfying. On the other hand, this material happiness is not satisfying, because it is like a drop in a desert. When we are thirsty, we want a lot of water in a desert. But if somebody gives us a drop of water, yes, that is happiness, but that will not quench my thirst. So similarly, material happiness is never satisfying, but spiritual happiness is always satisfying. So I Prabhupada mentioned this, that we should not feel that there is no reality. Yes, this world is temporary. This world is temporary. The material happiness here is flickering, but there is happiness which is satisfying, which is eternal in the spiritual world. So let's go back to our next verse. Would anyone like to read a translation text 2? Maybe first paragraph of the purport also.
Which one, Prabhuji? The translation? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Purport by His Divine Grace, Eshi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The description of the banyan tree is further explained here. Its branches spread in all directions. In the lower parts, there are variegated manifestations of living entities: human beings, animals, horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. These are situated on the lower parts of the branches, whereas on the upper parts are higher forms of living entities, the demigods, Gandharvas, and many other higher species of life. As a tree is nourished by water, so this tree is nourished by the three modes of material nature. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water, and sometimes a tract is very green. Similarly, where particular modes of material nature are proportionally greater in quantity, the different species of life are manifested accordingly.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is very beautiful purport. We see that in the lower planetary systems, the mode of ignorance is high. So we see demoniac species going to the lower planetary systems. But on the upper planetary systems like Brahmaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Janloka, the mode of goodness is increasing. So we see the corresponding species there. Um, in earthly planet, we see all kind of species, because there is mode of passion prominently, and then there's mode of ignorance and goodness also. So we see all kind of living entities on the earthly planet. So let's go to the next verse. Anyone else would like to read text 3?
I can read, Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Purport by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is now clearly stated that the real form of this banyan tree cannot be understood in this material world. Since the root is upwards, the extension of the real tree is at the other end. When entangled with the material expansions of the tree, one cannot see how far the tree extends, nor can one see the beginning of this tree. Yet one has to find out the cause. I am the son of my father is the son of such and such a person, etc. By searching in this way, one comes to Brahma, who is generated by the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Finally, in this way, when one reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the end of research work. One has to search out that origin of this tree, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the association of persons who are in knowledge of that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, by understanding, one becomes gradually detached from this false reflection of reality. And by knowledge, one can cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real tree.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. So this is very important. Prabhupada is telling us that we cannot understand what is the source, what is the root, what is the end of this tree, but one has to find the cause. By searching in this way, one comes to Brahma. I am the son of my father is the son of such and such person, etc. Brahma, by searching in this way, one comes to Brahma, who is generated by the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Finally, in this way, when one reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the end of research work. Now, how can we come to this point? For that, we have to associate with persons who are in knowledge of that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then only we can get detached from this false reflection of reality. So this means we need to associate regularly with devotees or with people who are studying spiritual science like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And then by that knowledge, one can cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real tree, which is the spiritual world. Yeah, let's read the next paragraph also, Guru. This is important. Anyone else would like to read? Or Ashram Mother Prabhu, you can read. Anyone?
I can read.
Okay, please go ahead.
Can you please scroll down a little bit?
The word Asanga, Prabhu.
Oh, acha, the purport. Okay.
Same purport, yeah.
The word Asanga is very important in this connection because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures, and one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of such discussion, in the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the first thing one must do is surrender to Him. The description of that place, whence having gone one never returns to this false reflected tree, is given here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original root from whom everything has emanated. To gain the favor of that Personality of Godhead, one has only to surrender. And this is a result of performing devotional service by hearing, chanting, etc. He is the cause of the extension of the material world. This has already been explained by the Lord Himself. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the origin of everything. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of this strong banyan tree of material life, one must surrender to Krishna. As soon as one surrenders unto Krishna, one becomes detached automatically from this material extension.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we can see here that what keeps us attached to this material world. Prabhupada is referring the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. And Prabhupada, towards the end of this chapter, in the purport towards 20, he says, this is the weakness of heart, the attachment to sense enjoyment. That is one. Second is lording it over the material nature. That two things, they keep us uh, in this material world. Although living entity is never uh, is never coming in touch with matter, because because we are superior in nature to the matter, but because of this tendency to enjoy the senses, we accept a material mind and material senses. So if we go back to our slides, um, is any are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So if we thank you for confirming. So if we see here on the left side, there is a tree. There are species, uh, but if we see, the spirit soul never comes in contact with matter. Although the matter originates from Krishna, the living entity is actually only a witness. So there are sense objects which are like the twigs of this tree, and then the tips of this tree are our senses, which is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and nose. So five senses. So by which we enjoy smelling, tasting, touch, form, and sound. So these are the five senses by which we actually appreciate the material world. However, we are never connected to this material world. We are only a witness. Um, so there is a verse in the prayers. I'm sorry. So there's a conversation between swan incarnation, Hamsa, Hamsa avatar of Krishna, where he's answering um, to the to the four Kumaras, who are the sons of Brahma. So he is saying that the material mind is the cause of living entities entanglement. So one has to detach oneself from the material mind itself. And how do we get this detachment? We absorb our mind in Krishna service, that is positive engagement. And let's see what are the other things what Prabhupada says in the same purport that we read. What are the other ways? So Prabhupada said, therefore one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures, and one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. So if I am bound by ropes, I cannot free myself. I need a person who is free. He can untie the ropes and he can free me. So similarly, here uh, there are people who are freed, who are detached from this material world. While living in this material world, they are freed, they are detached. They are actually in knowledge. So one must hear from such persons who are actually in knowledge. One must discuss spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures. That is the way to cut ourselves from the material mind or detach ourselves from the material world. As a result of such discussion in the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can compare this to the phase of developing faith. We know that there are different stages of devotional service. The first step is developing faith in the in Krishna, in the science of Krishna consciousness. So that is the first step. We like to hear about, we we may not like, but we attend the discussions of spiritual science and we associate with the devotees. So ado shraddha tato sadhu sangha, it means association of devotees. then the first thing one must do is surrender to him. The description of that place, whence having gone one never returns to this false reflective tree, is given here. So now, what do we do after we understand the spiritual science? So devotional service is not a sentiment. Devotional bhakti yoga is not just a sentiment, it is cultivation. So that's why Prabhupada translated bhakti as devotional service. One has to apply one's senses, one's body, one's mind, one's words in Krishna's service. That is how you uh, perform bhakti. That is how you surrender to Krishna. So, uh, yeah, because Krishna is the source of material world, that is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. This is chapter 10, verse number 8, where Krishna says, I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. So, because Krishna is the source of material world, also, if we surrender to Krishna, then he can free us from this entanglement in the material world. Now, the next verse explains what are the different things we need to do in order to surrender to Krishna. So that let's read that verse. Um, Anyone would like to volunteer for reading, translation, and purport?
I can read.
Yeah. Go ahead, Niharika. Thank you.
Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. Because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion. For although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has a foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering the land, this earth, to belong to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is a proprietor of this world. When one is free from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by familial, social, and national affections. These faulty associations bind one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender to the personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Niharika. So this verse is very deep, I feel, in terms of the qualities that we should have in order to reach to that eternal kingdom. But these are the important qualities that Krishna is enumerating here in order to detach ourselves from the spiritual world. Detach ourselves from the material world. So unless we detach ourselves from material world, it is difficult to attach ourselves to the spiritual world. We were reading recently from uh, the story of Dhruv Maharaj. Uh, so when Dhruv Maharaj performed his austerities for 6 months, he was able to see personal form of Krishna, um, and Krishna blessed him that he will live in the material world for 36,000 years. He will rule the planet, and his senses will remain strong for 36,000 years. He also said that all his enemies will be vanquished. So, to a materialist, this seems a very good proposal. But because Dhruv Maharaj was purified, he did not like it. He actually wanted to go back to the spiritual world. So, although Krishna wanted to take him back, when you see Krishna, uh, you can always go back to the spiritual world. You can always ask Krishna for going back to the spiritual world. But because Dhruv Maharaj had this material desire to rule over the kingdom, that's why Krishna did not take him back. So Krishna wanted to fulfill the desire of his devotee. That is a material desire here. So similarly, as long as if we have these material attachments in our heart, even if we have a ticket to go back to Goloka, it is very difficult to go back. It is like that story um, we have heard so many times, that story, right? Uh, that there was a barat, what we say, there was a party of bridegroom who were going to cross the lake, and they had to reach early next morning for the marriage ceremony. And so there was a boatman. He said, yes, definitely, you just come to my boat. I will make sure that you will reach the other side by morning. And they said, okay, but make sure that we reach, because if we have to be there on time in the morning. So the boatman said, you don't worry, I am doing this from 20 years. uh, so just don't worry, you just sleep. So all the people in the bridegroom's party, they were just sleeping nicely in the boat, and the boatman was rowing the whole night the boat. So in the morning they see that they have not moved an inch from their original place. They are still at the same bank. They have not moved. So the boatman was bewildered. He was confused. He was rowing the whole night. So why are they still on the same bank? And then he found out that the anchor was still in the water. He has not picked up the anchor. So similarly, even if Krishna gives us the ticket, okay, I'm ready to take you back, come with me. But if we have these anchors in the material world, oh, I need to first become a wealthy man. I need to take care of my family duties. How about my children? They are very young. I have to take care of them. So there are so many attachments. Or I want to become a famous person. Uh, I want to um, become a philanthropist, or so on. So these all attachments, they have to be washed off. So that is what this verse is explaining about, this fifth verse. So let's go into details. What are these things explained in the fifth verse? I just picked up few verses from Bhagavatam to refer to each of these qualities, just to understand them better, from Bhagavatam and CC. So this is like a negative number line. While we are in the material world, we are in the negative number line, and zero is like coming to the impersonal Brahman, and then positive number line is going to the spiritual world. So verse 5, 15.5 tells us how to extricate ourselves from the negative number line, and then perform devotional service in order to progress to the spiritual world. So first of the qualities that are mentioned in this verse is freedom from false prestige and illusion. So there are two verses that I just picked up from Bhagavatam. One is from the prayers of Queen Kunti, and another one is from the story of the twin Yamla Arjuna trees. So let's just read those verses. What does it mean to uh, to have false prestige, to be illusion. Just for our understanding. Let me share the screen. 826. Okay. So this is a very beautiful verse. Would anyone like to volunteer for reading?
So I can,
Thank
if
you.
you allow.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Uh, my lord, my lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. Should I read the purport?
No, I think it's okay, bro. So, well, you can read, bro. I think this is good.
Okay, purport. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth, and education, and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly. O Krishna, O Govinda, it is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. This is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency, but there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality.
Mm.
Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely 1. High parentage, 2. Great good wealth, 3. High education, and 4. Attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the spirit of the pure spirit soul is an external feature, as much as fever is an external feature of an unhealthy body.
Mm.
The general process is to decrease the degree of the fever and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it's seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to more and more illusion about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God.
Thank you, bro. So this is such a beautiful purport by Prabhupada, and it clearly identifies what false prestige is, what illusion is, what is the reasons of having the false prestige and illusion, high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty. So these things can move us away from progress in bhakti, or move us away from detaching ourselves from the material world. That's why Prabhupada said that why do you want to take another chance? Yes, Krishna will give you another chance to come back, and then you will take birth in royal families, aristocratic families, in pious families where you can continue your spiritual life. But what is the guarantee? If you have good parentage, if you have good wealth, you can get entangled in the material world. So that's why we have to be very, very cautious about these things. On the other hand, we also see that devotees which are bereft of these four things, they progress very quickly. For example, we see the example of Srila Prabhupada. We see the examples of Pandavas. They 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 progress. They put their shelter in Krishna. Even Queen Kunti is asking, please send me these calamities again and again, so that I can remember you always. So by remembering you always, I will not see the material world. I will not see the repetition of birth and death. So that is what is detachment from material world. That is why she is praying for calamities. It is better to have these calamities than to be satisfied in these four qualities: high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, which are like intoxication. They are intoxication. So that's why I have mentioned here uh, that this is the principle of austerity that saves us from this false prestige and illusion, uh, because austerity is the pillar of religious principle that saves us from getting intoxication. So, by intoxication, we break the pillar of austerity. So there are two ways to accept austerity. One is by prayers, by begging Krishna. A devotee uh, can utilize everything in service of Krishna and be very austere in his personal life. And the second way um is to get chastised by some devotee of Krishna. So the second example we see in the story of the Yamla Arjuna trees. So I want to show that also. Let me go there. 10, 10. So, okay. Yeah. So can anyone read this verse from text 8? This is the story of the Nalakubera and Manigriva, the sons of Kubera, who are intoxicated. Um, who are intoxicated and they are enjoying with the uh, other women. So this is very, 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 very instructive story. Maybe, yeah, we can read from, yeah, from, from text 5. Anyone can read.
Okay, Prabhu, I will read.
Thank you, Ashwani.
O Maharaj Parikshit, by some auspicious opportunity for the two boys, the great saint Devarsi Narad once appeared there by chance. Seeing them intoxicated with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Upon seeing Narad, the naked young girls of the demigods were very much ashamed. Afraid of being cursed, they covered their bodies with their garments. But the two sons of Kuvera did not do so. Instead, not caring about Narad, they remained naked. Seeing the two sons of the demigods naked and intoxicated by opulence and false prestige, Devarsi Narad, in order to show them special mercy, desired to give them a special curse. Thus he spoke as follows. Narad Muni said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. Unable to control their senses, rascals who are falsely proud of their riches or their birth in aristocratic families are so cruel that to maintain their perishable bodies, which they think will never grow old or die, they kill poor animals without mercy. Sometimes they kill animals merely to enjoy an excursion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Maybe we can stop here. So we can see in these two verses, thank you, Prabhu, for reading. We can see in these two verses that a person who is intoxicated with false prestige, he is ready to break all the four regulative principles. So we can see here the wine, which is intoxication, women, illicit sex, gambling, truthfulness. Uh, I'm sorry, gambling, and then the fourth one is meat eating. So all four regulative principles are broken by a person who is in false prestige or illusion. So, what is the remedy what is the remedy? Yeah, so we can read from from text 13. Anyone else? Amanpru, would you like to read
Sure, Prabhu.
from,
Which one, Prabhu?
from text 13?
Okay, just the translation.
Yes, only from text 13 you can read 4 or 5 verses. Let's see.
Okay. Atheistic fools and rascals who are very much proud of wealth fail to see things as they are. Therefore, returning them to poverty is the proper ointment for their eyes, so they may see things as they are. At least a poverty stricken man can realize how painful poverty is, and therefore he will not want others to be in a painful condition like his own. Text 14. By seeing their faces, one whose body has been pricked by pins can understand the pain of others who are been pricked. Realizing that this pain is the same for everyone, he does not want others to suffer in this way. But one who has never been pricked by pins can understand this pain. Text 15. A poverty stricken man must automatically undergo austerities and penances because he does not have the wealth to possess anything. Thus, his false prestige is vanquished. Always in need of food, shelter, and clothing, he must be satisfied with what is obtained by the mercy of Providence. Undergoing such compulsory austerities is good for him because this purifies him and completely frees him from false ego.
Okay, maybe
Take
we
16. Okay.
stop it. Thank you, bro. So we can see here that poverty stricken man he has to undergo austerities and penances, and that's how his false prestige is vanquished. So austerities are good for us when we perform austerities of uh, keeping fasting, when we don't accrue a lot of material wealth unnecessarily, when we utilize only things which are necessary for keeping soul and body together. It is actually helpful because there is no scope for getting falsely puffed up. There is no scope of being illusion. So yeah, this is a very good story. So we continue to the next quality from here. Let's go to the next one. Anyone has any questions up to this point, or we can continue questions or reflections.
Bro, I had one point to share.
Yes, someone do.
You brought that wonderful point about the anchors from text 5, how those anchors actually hook us up
Mm.
repeatedly here. But the point I wanted to make was, but you said at the same time that one can actually receive a ticket to the eternal kingdom. So my point is, unless you free yourself from all those anchors, you're not gonna get that ticket, or you can get that ticket, but still you are still hooked up.
Yeah. So that person has the ticket. He has paid to the boatman to go to the other side. But as long as the anchor is there, the boat will not move. If I have some, Prabhupada said, if I have even a tinge of material, tinge of in desire to enjoy material world, then we cannot enter the spiritual world. It is possible for a devotee to go to a place where there are pastimes of the Lord happening. For example, uh, we hear so many times in Prabhupada's purports that a devotee who is not fully purified in this life, he goes to another place where he gets chance to get trained more in spiritual life. From there, he can continue to the spiritual world. So it is better to continue performing devotional service even if we are not 100% purified. We are on the path to go back. So it is yeah, in that sense, it is better to keep on performing devotional service so that those anchors go away by performing devotional service. So we are very well situated than those people who do not have any devotional service, who do not have any process, any regular sadhana to get rid of these ankles.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Aman. Anyone else has any questions or reflections? Okay, so we'll continue. So then we have the other quality, which is free from false association. So this is a very important verse from the teachings of Lord Kapila. Are you able to see my screen? Share. Okay.
Yes, bro.
Um, okay. Yeah. Can someone read from text 33 to 35?
Prabhuji, I can read.
Okay. Mataji, please read from 31 to 35. Please go ahead.
Okay, Prabhuji. Text 31. For the sake of the body, which is the source of constant trouble to him and which follows him because he is bound by ties of ignorance and fruitive activities, he performs various actions which cause him to be subjected to repeated birth and death. Text 32. If therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to the hell as before. Text 33. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities.
Yeah, two more verses. Mataji.
Okay, Prabhu. Text 34. One should not associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. Text 35. The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as the resulting from the attachment to a woman or to the fellowship of men who are fond of women.
Thank you, Mataji. So it goes the other way around also, for women to enjoy men, for men to enjoy women. So this is the chapter where Lord Kapila is explaining about the process of conception, how an embryo comes out of the womb, and then how he is captured by the external energy. Although he's praying to Krishna incessantly, please let me not get entangled again in this material world. But as soon as he comes out, the material energy takes over, and then he's um, again falls in the cycle of repeated birth and death. So that one another reason for, even if a person is not falsely uh, he doesn't have a reason for false prestige, he can have a bad association, he can have a false association, which it has been explained about people who are sensual, who 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 are attached to wine and women, and uh, yeah yeah, so attachment to a woman, or to the fellowship of men who are fond of women. Even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained this many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that um, uh, even for a sannyasi to associate with women is like drinking poison. For a person in the renounced order to associate with women is like drinking poison. So yeah, so that is the effect of false association, and that can be counteracted by following cleanliness, which is the another principle of four pillars of regulative principles: cleanliness, and it keeps us from breaking the pillar of no illicit sex. So we remain clean internally and externally. Um, yeah. So that's the words for false association. So how these regulative principles are actually saving us from these fall downs. That's why these don'ts are very important to follow in our life. There's one more verse which is again pertaining to the story of Yamla Arjun trees. Um, I won't go there now because we have less time. So the third one is done with material lust. So one has to be done with material lust. Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita, verse 37, where Arjuna is asking, why is one impelled to perform sinful activities, even unwillingly? Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? And Krishna is answering, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. So this is the material lust, which entangles us into sinful activities. And a person who is sinful, he cannot progress on the detachment from the material world. He is going to get more and more illusion. So um, yeah, when a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion, or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Yeah, so that is the reason how living entity acquires lust, and what is the way to get free from lust. There is a verse in Bhagavatam 10:33-39. It's a very, very famous verse. Anyone would like to read maybe text and translation? That's it. The words and the translation.
Oh, I can read.
Yeah, please. Please go ahead.
Who are you sharing?
Oh, I'm not sharing.
You are sharing, but you have to go to that page. Right.
Is it sharing, Prabhu, now?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay. Prabhu, text and the translation.
Text. Oh, I should read the verse.
Yeah, the verse. Or okay, translation is okay.
Vikriditam.
If you are finding
It's fine. No, it's fine actually.
Okay, go ahead.
Vikriditam rajavadubiridam cha Vishnu Shraddhanvito nushunaya datha Varnayedya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhya Kamam Hridrogashva Apahanoti Achirena Dhira. Translation. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. So we can see that Prabhupada, even before completing Srimad Bhagavatam, he completed Krishna book because he was not sure whether he would be alive to complete the 10th canto. So it was not uncalled for. Prabhupada knew what is the potency of Krishna book. So by hearing faithfully the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, one can actually get free from the disease of lust, that is the disease of the heart. But this should be heard with a faithful mood in the association of devotees. Only then one can get free. However, there is no other solution for this material lust. So that is that. Let's go to the next one, which is freedom from dualities of happiness and distress. So we can see here what is the duality of happiness and distress. So are you able to see the screen, right? I hope.
Yes.
Okay. So we in this material world, because we have this body, so we feel heat and cold, we have honor and dishonor, we have fame and infamy. That is explained in second chapter by Krishna. But a person who is not affected by these dualities, he is the person who can detach himself from material world. Such a person can engage in the devotional service, because for him the the right thing to do is serving Krishna, whether it is so called moral or immoral, whether it brings honor or dishonor, whether it brings fame or infamy, happiness or distress. So uh, in Bhagavad Gita, verses 27 and 28, that is explained very nicely. 27. So verse 7 explains, O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities, arisen from desire and hate. So we see that even in this material tree, there were two subsidiary roots. One was pious acts, other was impious acts. So those are affected by this desire and hate. I want to have something and I hate something else. So that's why people keep on looping, going from upper to lower planets. That's Abrahma Bhuvana Lokab Punaravartino Arjuna Mam Upete tu Konteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. So the living entities, because of their desire and hate, they keep on going to the higher planets where they enjoy for certain time, and then they come back again to the material world and again repeat the same cycle. So that is not how we can disentangle ourselves from the material world. That is duality. So what is the solution? Krishna says, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, whose sinful actions are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So yeah, so here one has to engage oneself in Krishna service with determination. When we go out for book distribution, when we go out for teaching, when we go out for uh, cleaning the temple, for cooking in the temple, one might say, oh, how can I do this? This is a very menial service. Cleaning the toilets, cleaning the temple's floor, or washing pots in the kitchen, or going for book distribution. Uh, so one might feel ashamed of doing those things. But because it is related to service, one does not feel uh, one does not feel any hatred towards those things. So that is the qualification that one should have: freedom from the dualities, honor, dishonor, fame and infamy, happiness and distress. So that is that. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. So understand the eternal and unbewildered. So one has to understand the eternal. One has to accept this knowledge, hearing from authorized sources, discussing in the with the devotees, and one has to remain unbewildered. So that is very nicely explained in the chapter Transcendental Knowledge. Uh, so how should one? Sorry. Yeah. So as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities.
We have to
In the,
share the screen.
oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Flo, would you like to read 37?
Sure. Okay. Text 37. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities.
Continue proof up to 40.
Text 38. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. Any and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoy this knowledge within himself in due course of time.
Continue proof.
Text 39. A faithful person who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Text 40. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For a doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we can see here the verses 37 to 39 talk about understanding of transcendental knowledge, which is understanding the eternal. And one has to subdue one's senses, because otherwise these senses will engage us in false prestige, in illusion, in false association. So one has to follow the four regulative principles: truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, austerity, and then study the eternal. But at the same time, one has to be unbewildered. So that is verse 40. But ignorant and faithless person who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So even people who are so-called pious, who are free from sinful reactions, sinful activities, even they can fall down because they do not have faith. They do not have faith in the words of Bhagavad Gita. They keep Bhagavad Gita in their home. They don't open it. They don't read it. Even if they read it, they don't believe what the words of Krishna. Even if they believe, they don't apply it in their life. So such people cannot disentangle themselves from the material world. Okay. So yeah, I think that's all from verse 5. Yeah, Prabhu, I think I am done for the presentation. There is another part which is attaching to the spiritual world, but I think that was enough for today. So we can stop here. If there are any questions or reflections, we can take it now. These are the references I took from Bhaktivedanta Vedabase, Prabhupada's books, Gita Subodhini, and then pictures from these two websites. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol Kautukarna Prabhu, this is Ashray Madhav.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, you have first of all, that picture in your slide was very nice. You know, that banyan tree, and that in parallel you put the whole material world and how it is below the spiritual world. It is a very nice analogy between. And you connected a lot of verses from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Very nicely done, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for your realization.
Thank you, Prabhu. It is Vedabase. I just searched the words Prabhu in the Vedabase. That's very helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwani. So yeah, if there is nothing else, we can do 1 minute kirtan and then we can stop.
Oji, I like the very nice presentation, and very nicely you explained all the different concepts. I really liked, very, very helpful, all the different points. Just one thing I was thinking that, of course, I also, as Ashray Madhav Prabhu said, I really like the banyan tree, but hearing your explanation, I want to get out of the banyan tree. Don't want to be entangled. So Krishna was telling in that two things. He said, detachment and determination. And so one thing I was just realizing that, like every day morning, we have the opportunity to practice that. That time I can very much relate, because this banyan tree is so complex and we have so many that different activity use as an impulse activity, and the different thinkings, because of our attachment, put us in anxiety, and they make us disturbed even while chanting. They do not. So, as Srila Prabhupada said, that you chant and you hear. So there itself kind of is summarize the detachment. Everything is embedded in that. See, to hear is not an easy thing to hear. you know, means we have to really practice the detachment there. Okay. Yeah, so I really like the different explanation you gave. They gave us a very practical way to purify our existence,
Mm.
and that's really very very helpful. And whatever you said, all the different points, um, the austerity, the cleanliness, um, that's very helpful to um, purify our existence and fully take shelter of Krishna. Um, so, yeah, and you also mentioned association, very important, very, very informative class, very inspiring class. Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro, for your audience. You were there, so that's why whatever came out good, it is because of your presence and all the elevated Vaishnavas here.
I'm very inspired, and thank you for it.
Thank you.
Same as Prabhu, I felt really inspired by the class, and it really felt like a midweek wake up call. Cause like this week was pretty like I don't know, I just like really focused on other things.
Mhm.
And when you were speaking like the examples, like we have the ticket to go back home, and would we take it? Like I know I would make up some excuses, so I was like, okay, I have to try harder, and it was really nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Niharika, for reading the verses. It was really nice to have you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Jose Prabhu.
Wow, yeah, thank you for such a powerful, powerful lecture, Prabhu. I feel like I got blessed by your darshan, and I also got blessed by your lecture tonight. I really like that purport you read where Srila Prabhupada mentions how the fire of knowledge ignites and turns the simple reactions into ashes. I thought that was a very powerful quote, and it really touched me. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu's purports are like sun. Uh, if we read them, there won't be any darkness in our life. So it's really beautiful that we have it. And thank you, Prabhu, for joining. I'm very blessed to see you.
Oh, thank you for a wonderful class. Actually, it was really good. Especially, I like the point which Shamru Pro mentioned. The two Ds. One was detachment and determination,
Mm.
and especially I like the way you described why asanga is important.
Mm.
I was feeling that I have a long way to go. So you said there are two problems. One is the attachment for sense enjoyment, and then the other one is that the lording it over material
Mm.
nature.
Yes.
So I feel, yeah. So I have to work a lot in that regard. So I was just thinking, actually, your class was very good.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, bro.
bro. So that's why we should not. We should not expect that we'll go back we can go back in this lifetime, but it is okay for us to keep on practicing because we know that okay, there are some anchors which needs to be cleaned up, and Krishna is working on us by performing devotional service. We are letting Krishna work on us, operate on our anchors. So then we can go back. But anyways, it is mentioned in the there is a verses. Swan incarnation. So he says that for a devotee, he does not he does not feel that he has material body. It is like a mad man who is intoxicated. He doesn't know that he's wearing a coat or not. He gives this example. So for a person who is advanced in spiritual knowledge, he does not even know that he has material body or not. So we should continually engage in devotional service. Thank you, Prabhu.
There's one more point I liked in your discussion is you mentioned the desire, that reflection. That is what is making the reflection or separating us. So from last Saturday chanting session with Vashik Maharaj, he mentioned this beautiful point that if we do not have um, a dream,
Mm.
so the dream will never come true. So the
Mm.
first step is to have the dream or develop the desire. And Srila
Yeah.
Prabhupada I saw mentioning in the purport that everything starts from desire.
Yeah.
How important it is to cultivate the right desire.
Yeah.
We can dream that one day we'll be able to chant Suddhanam, at least aspire or desire for that.
Mm.
One day we can practice pure devotional service.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you again for that point. Beautiful point and that wonderful slide that is
I
very.
just picked up from asitis.com. That's his left side, and right side is from askrompadswami.com. But these are nice slides, so that's I wanted to keep it together.
Yeah, even like while reading before too, I never understood like the translation, but with the visual, it was like really clear. So thank you for explaining it so nicely.
Thank you, Niharika. It's Krishna's mercy. Okay, so maybe we can just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra over a minute and then stop.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much for joining.
His Grace Kautukarnava Prabhu.
Srila
Jai.
की जय, श्यामरूप प्रभु की जय, आशीर्वाद प्रभु की जय, और सब संवेद भक्त वृंद की जय. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.